We're going to continue and keep it going with a wonderful Los Angeles poet who is also quite a fiction writer as well, a graphic designer, and a woman for all seasons, and was in a poetry troupe with Amy called Cantaluz. And another favorite Los Angeles poet of mine and great friend and somebody who always brings light everywhere she comes. This is Miss Pam Ward. Can we give it up for Pam Ward? Pam! Good to see you, Pam. Thanks for long.
I met Amy during a poetry reading. One of our friends, Nancy Padron, decided to put this big Los Angeles anthology together called Flash Pop. And so we were reading, and I noticed that Amy and Nancy and Gloria Alvarez and myself, we had this certain kind of, I don't know, we didn't give a shit. And we had some strength and power in our words. And so it's kind of like there's a phrase in LA, game recognizes game. And so we kind of melted together and said, hey, let's go have coffee. So we went and had coffee. And of course, we picked a shop in Culver City that was owned by a woman. And at those meetings, and we met several times to just workshop and do poems. And some of the poems that we created there were so great, like a poem I wrote called Single Mom. They started with just a few lines from when we got together as a group. And but Amy, I just remember how forceful and kind she was. And I love that combination in women. It's like a warrior spirit. And you're very protective. And also we were very interested in documenting our work, primarily women's work, because we weren't getting the same play that men were getting back then. It was the poetry scene was really still male dominated. And so we wanted to create our own voice, our own venues. In fact, I just heard on the radio the other day that the brothers Grimm, who wrote Grimm's fairy tales, was actually a compilation of all these stories they collected from women. And I'm like, whoa. So if you don't get to first base and document your stuff and write your own books, then somebody will snatch your story. And Cantaluz was very much instrumental in documenting women's voices. And we wanted to first document our own. And then also we invited other poets to the party. So when we read, we would have other people that read with us. But Amy was kind of like our anchor. She actually got our last reading at Southwest College. And that was like packed. We're like, wow, I didn't know poets could do this, had us paid and everything. So this poem that I wrote was actually dedicated to Amy and our group. And it's called How Girl Writer Tribes Are Formed. Maybe you're a girl from Pasadena or Watts, a girl with gumption, a girl who likes tossing rocks, with a gaze that could scorch LA raw. Maybe you're from the East or got bused to the West. Maybe you're Cuban or Black, a Japanese girl's raised strong, one who scrawled yellow power on a wall. Maybe you're the girl who listens or the one who tells you you're wrong, a girl who starts something, a girl who won't take it back. Sassy chicas, mamacitas, militant mama sans, churning poetry drip by drip, bucket by bucket, drop by drop, the way grandma stirs bathwater rum. Maybe you create a crew, a group of poetry sluts, girls who refuse, girls who cannot be stopped, girls who frolic or graffiti their own names on walls, growing poetry like weeds on a deadbeat lawn. painting poems the way some paint their nails or chew them off, girls who take notes, clawing poems that shoot like guns, troublemakers, salt shakers, renegade debutantes, a girl some folks want to slug. Maybe you know one. Maybe your mom's one of us. You'll know if she laughs too loud, cranks her music, or starts to cuss. Singing poems like hymns, singing until dawn bites the dust. A girl writer serenading Mars. And that was really Amy to a T. I mean, some of the stories she told us about living in Los Angeles and J-Town. And, I used to hang out in J-Town myself. Half of my family's Japanese. And my thoughts and notes with Amy is that she was what we would call a home girl. And home girls, that ran the gamut racially. A home girl was someone that you told your stories to, that you confided in, that would pull your coat if you were going down the wrong road. But we were homegirls that were documenting the atrocities of life. And I love the way Amy documented hers. I was really incensed about the whole Camellia story. And I remember she told me that when, in one of our Cantaluz meetings, and she was like, yeah, they got those flowers for like nothing. And, my father was her grandfather had to really, it was just unfair. And I was right. And I remember I used to go to Descanso Gardens all the time and look, and they didn't have a sign the first time I went. But now when you go, there's a sign with the Uyematsu name there. And I encourage everyone to look, maybe, say a little blessing for Amy. So this little haiku is called "The Uyematsu Flowers at Descanso Gardens Know the Truth" haiku. Very long title for a short poem. Camellias lean from white farmers who stroke their stems. We know who you are. And that's it. So I was thinking of that, and I was thinking about how a flower is just there, replanted in a new family, but how the flower still has the essence of the owner inside, and how even though they're being fed and taken care of and fertilized, there's this little resistance. And I love that. And I just wanted to document, because Amy's family was about resistance. Amy was really resistance. I remember, I think she was good friends with Wanda, and Wanda was a really strong poet in the LA scene. Wanda was the first person to publish me in a book called Women for All Seasons that came out in like 1988. And I was going through a lot, and I remember finding a place called Beyond Baroque. And I was like, Beyond Baroque, is that a check cashing place? And they're like, no, Pam, it's a place for poets. So so I went there, and one of the Cantaluz poems that came out of that time frame was called Single Mom. And Amy was a single mom, and Wanda went through being a single mom, and we all transitioned through stuff, but that's what this poem is titled. Somewhere between a burnt marriage, a greasy kitchen, and a gray 22, sandwiched between these smiling kids and my painted teeth. Somewhere between coffee mugs stained with yesterday's paycheck, rent due, that last final kiss. Choosing between Disneyland or Sybil Brand, murder or Mr. Toad's ride, driving all the way from Anaheim to LA, anxious as an inmate, passing your house, your new car, your girlfriend's red bike, smashing the snails on my porch. Somewhere between what I didn't say and my black Ajax mouth, scrounging for words but spitting a shoe. With two of you in my back seat, sweet dreamy lugs, tasting of grape juice and cherry. Somewhere between their breath at my neck, or them asking for water, or the fear they'll call some bimbo mommy, gnaws at me, yanks me straight back from the brink, makes me face one more sink. full of dishes. And I wanted to really capture what it was like being a single mom and the angst of it. And I remember when I wrote that poem and I came home, I smashed some snails on my porch. And it's so funny how a real event, if you put it in a poem, can just be really squishy and nasty and great. So all you writers out there, use the source, use what you have. Maybe I'll just read one more poem. I mean, I don't know how long we have, but I just wanted to read this poem about the gaming of Emmett Till because it's the 70th anniversary of his murder. And I think that what's going on now in Los Angeles and the snatching of people of the street, it happens first very singularly. If someone's taken, someone's destroyed, someone's calling someone out of their name, and then that becomes ordinary. And then racism is now, it is now a policy that the government is using. And it starts at your doorway. So this is called The Gaming of Emmett Till, and I wrote it based on an Ella Fitzgerald song. My uncle used to play bass with her. All right. A tisket, a tasket, a black boy in a casket. He wrote a letter to his mother, but Mamie never got it. They got him, they shot him, the river to the bottom. A girlie cried, she lied and lied, a crime played out so often. These lynchings, these fishings, the wrong side of a fence in. A bludgeon faced, a child erased, but Mamie made us watch it. This taking, this clocking, a black boy getting gotten, a coffin sighs, a life floats by, and silence is accomplice. These billies be hilly, the games they play so chilly. They alibi, they riverize, they Tallahatchie bodies. So nephew, be careful and double check that venue. They play to win, they sink your swim. So bring somebody with you. Thank you very much.
Make some noise for Pam Ward. Pam! Pam, Pam, Pam! Pam.